Welcome to the June meeting of the Mayor and City Council, City of Taneytown. I ask that Councilman Vigliotti open us with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
First on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 8th and May 13th regular meetings. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Will there be any comment or amendments asked? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And it passes. Ask the council if anything on the agenda is a conflict of interest for them.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Very good. Moving on to resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. For approval for Sustainable Communities application, we are asking the council to authorize city staff to submit the application once it's complete. Jim, do you have anything to add before we make the motion?
No, the work group will be meeting Thursday morning to hopefully hammer out any last minute revisions, and we'll get it into Department of Housing and Community Development.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to authorize staff to submit the application once completed.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? I don't know if you've had a chance to read over the application thus far.
I was going to say, Jim, when the application is finalized, could we receive copies of that in email? Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Very good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Staff is authorized. Introducing this evening Ordinance 07-2019, Amendment to Taneytown Zoning Code. I believe we've already made some changes to this. I'll go and entertain a motion for introduction before we discuss.
I make a motion to introduce the amendment as amended on Wednesday night.
And a second, please?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Questions about changes made or anything?
No, sir.
Very good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. So it is. Our anticipation is to hold the public hearing at the July meeting. Just a reminder, we're having one meeting in the month of July. We're skipping the workshop, doing everything in one. So there'll be a public hearing, and we expect to then vote to approve or disapprove that evening. Up for adoption tonight is our monthly water allocation, this one for June 2019. May I have a motion for such?
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Excellent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. In agreement. Thank you. Mr. Wypreck, do you have any updates on your city manager report?
Just a couple quick things. Wednesday night, we were asked how many responses we had to the Sustainable Community Survey. We had 77 that were from unique IP addresses. We had more responses, but we saw that a few responses were multiple from the same user. So we had 77 different email addresses that responded on that.
Okay.
Also,
Mr. Wyprecht, if I may, are we certain that, I mean, not that it really matters, but when an IP address was shared, is it possible that maybe it was just multiple people in the same household?
that is possible.
They would have to be using the same device.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
But yes, that is,
Right.
that
Yeah,
is
it's
possible,
computer.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And just a quick follow-up, the concern was raised about the bleachers at the Field 1 down at Memorial Park Wednesday night. We've already had Public Works go out and make sure that all the fasteners are down, nothing's sticking up. And actually, Wednesday afternoon, before we heard the complaint, the Parks and Rec director was already looking into a price for replacing all the boards in the bleachers. So that's something we're trying to get a handle on how much that would cost. And if we have funds available this year, we may go ahead and do it if we have materials and supplies money left for parks. So
Good to hear. Great.
that's it for me.
That's all. Any questions for the acting city manager on his report or any other issues? Very good. Any questions on the department reports?
No, sir.
I'm going to order coffee for the next meeting. You guys are asleep tonight. Jay is not with us, so I assume he has nothing additional for the legal report unless he gave you anything. Very good. If you do have any questions for Jay, feel free to contact him directly or myself. I believe we have nothing for old business according to the agenda. Anyone have anything old they want to bring up in the meantime? Very good. Moving into new business. Looking to get a motion to approve the monthly financial report. Anyone care to do so?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on the monthly financial report? Very good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Outstanding. Moving right along. Accounts payables. You'll see the check register there in your packet. May I have a motion to approve the accounts payables?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion whatsoever? Very good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. It is passed. And next, we have my nominations for boards and commissions. I'd like to take it one board at a time and list off who I'm nominating, then I'll ask for the vote accordingly. Starting with Board of Zoning Appeals, I nominate that we reappoint Edith Kelso and then appoint Harmony Autry to the Board of Zoning Appeals. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all opposed. Thank you very much. Moving on to Parks and Rec Advisory Board. There were 2 openings on that board. One of which is just a standard position, the other is an alternate. I'm nominating Emmanuel Harvey for the standard position and Elizabeth Cheney as the alternate. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And all opposed say nay. Excellent. Moving on to the Design Standards Review Board. We had a couple vacancies there. I'm nominating 2 people and leaving 1 vacancy in the meantime while I continue to decide on that. The first is Harmony Autry, who will be representing the Board of Zoning Appeals, and Gail Wilson is the other. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and opposed say nay. Thank you. Ethics Commission. Council should receive my email that I was reconsidering one of them, which means tonight I'll be nominating 3 people, and they're all 3 reappointments. That would be Richard Ott, Steve Marsalek, and Jackie Jones. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
All in favor discussion, if you would. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Very good. I believe that's all we have. Let me see if I can move up on my screen here and make sure. Thank you. All right, looks good. Next, we have, I believe, city staff looking for approval to purchase a dump truck. Mr. Wyprecht, do you have anything to add to the discussion we had from Wednesday night?
No, I think everything's pretty well spelled out in Mr. Sneak's memo that was in your packets.
Very good. May I have a motion for city staff to purchase the dump truck?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Good. Any discussion on?
I do just want to note that Mr. Smeek did save us some money on that. He did mention that he went through an alternate bid process, so I commend him for that.
Very good. Good note. Any additional discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Very good. Lastly, Jim, I'll warn you, I'm going to want you to explain a little bit of this as well. Looking for bid approval for the O'Brien Bridge project. Jim, can you open us up on that before we make a motion?
Sure. The bridge is being built in conjunction with a stormwater retrofit project that will convert a number of small stormwater ponds in the Roberts Mill Run and Sarah's Choice area into one large wet pond. Part of that project is creating the weir wall or the dam at the downstream end of the pond to also function as bridge abutments. So we have the opportunity to complete O'Brien Road to connect the two halves of O'Brien Avenue by funding the additional road portion and the actual bridge deck. So the overall project for the stormwater pond and the bridge was bid out in two phases. Phase 1 being the stormwater portion and Phase 2 being the bridge. Phase 1, the stormwater portion, is being paid for through monies that are already allocated through our town-county agreement and through our memorandum of agreement with Carroll County, where they're paying for the lion's share of these stormwater retrofit projects. So that leaves us with the bridge funding. Unfortunately, the low bid for the overall project was the high bid for the bridge. Faced with the possibility of not being able to award a bid for the bridge, the low bidder was contacted and given the opportunity to provide a lower bid for the bridge portion, for Phase 2 portion of the project. Surprisingly, they did so, coming in at $430,000, which is below, is essentially our engineering estimate amount. And then we've added a contingency onto that when we passed the budget. So the 430 is what we anticipated being the cost for the bridge deck and the road approach on either side. So that brings it into a point where we can do it within budget. Now, of course, there are always chances of issues during construction that could change that. But as far as the bid, we should be able to do it for our budgeted amount and still realize the lowest overall cost for the project. We need to keep in mind also that these projects are costly, and while it might be easy to say, well, we should go with the lower bidder for the bridge and not worry so much about the stormwater end, the difference on the stormwater end was much larger than the difference on the bridge on the Phase 2 portion of the project. And also we need to keep in mind that with our agreement with the county and the other municipalities, we are trying to stay within a certain target range per acre of impervious area that we're treating. So the overall numbers for the bid from WF DeLauder and Son put us in a very good spot for that per acre cost, and hopefully that will keep when we are ready to renew that agreement at the end of our NPDES permit next year, hopefully that will put us in pretty good standing to keep those rates close to where we are now. I'm sure they will increase because this type of work has become more competitive with these contractors as other jurisdictions are ramping up and doing these projects. So we're facing more competition now than we were a few years ago because Carroll County really got a good jump on these projects. So I hope that sort of summarizes the whole project. And what we were looking for is to approve spending the $430,000 for Phase 2 of the project to be able to do the bridge. And assuming that is passed tonight, then the county will present that to the Board of County Commissioners on the 20th to award the overall bid to WF DeLauder and Son. So we need to essentially authorize the county to say, yes, we'll pay for this amount for the bridge.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the bid approval for the O'Brien Bridge project?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And any discussion or questions?
Just a question, if we do approve this and it goes before the county and they approve it, at what point should we expect construction to begin?
We are hoping in August.
Thank you, Jim.
Now you
And it'll
referred,
be our little secret that they lowered the price.
it'll be between us and the camera
Yours, mine, and the YouTube.
and
audience.
YouTube. We'll keep it on Earth, okay? How's that? You referred to it as phase 1 and phase 2. Are they doing it in that order, or have they not specified a timeline?
Well, phase 1 actually does include substructure for the bridge abutments and the weir wall, so that's actually very early in the construction stage. Will actually be work that ultimately will be
Lead
part
to
of
the bridge. Okay. Very good. Any other questions from council? Nope. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Excellent work. Moving into council member reports. Councilman Haynes, I'll start with you. What do you have to bring us?
All right, so over the past few weeks, I got to kind of sit down with Mr. Smake and kind of understand his department a little more. So I had the privilege of, kind of sitting with him and assessing his needs and, where he wants the department to go. So we had a very productive series of conversations. I got to meet some of the staff and kind of go on another tour and familiarize myself a little more with the infrastructure aspect of the town. And then I also had the privilege of attending sort of like a county-wide infrastructure tour with members from other municipalities, kind of getting an update on where the county is in relation to some projects that are going on. So it was very informative and pretty educational. As for the CCRC, it's pretty dry right now. We did not have a quorum at our last meeting and we needed to pass a budget. So we're tentatively rescheduling for sometime this month. Dates have not come out yet. So, but before I finish, I do want to mention on another note, I'm not sure if you guys are all familiar with Norbert Bayel. But Norbert is a very passionate and involved member of our community. And last summer, he was holding free group fitness sessions at Memorial and Roberts Mill Parks. And so he founded a fitness app called Be Fit for Life, and he's a personal trainer and all that sort of stuff. And to spread awareness of his app, he actually door knocked in some neighborhoods in town. He didn't hit every single door. But so that was his goal, and he did pretty well with it to the point that the county actually recognized him for it. And so he's bringing it back this year. And this Wednesday night will be the first kind of opening session of the summer. The Times is going to be there, and I do invite all of you to attend. It's, all fitness levels. Even if you don't want to stick around, maybe just show up and say hey. But it'll be good.
What time, Councilman?
6:30. 6:30. Memorial Park.
At Memorial Park? Very good.
And that's all from me.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Hale, what do you have for us from the world of Parks and Rec?
Quite a bit. First of all, Main Street, Taneytown's 8th annual Wine, Brew, and Music Festival is Saturday from 11 to 4. That's one of the hardest things I've ever tried to read in my life, the font. But in any case, sounds like a nice, weather's looking pretty good so far. So hopefully that's the case. Parks and Rec's been very busy. Bob Mitchell just got news this past week, and you may have seen the paper, $150,000 for Bollinger Park. That's nice, good stuff. I'm pleased to hear that there's been a good bit of grant going after and getting. There's a lot of self-help stuff out there too, and I hope we can ratchet up that rest of this. Parks and Recs, parks, beautiful. We have some gorgeous parks. But there's also some things that need to be taken care of. We have some issues out at the pond. In May, we had the fishing derby out there. It was in competition with Silver Run, I think. Normally we do, I think it's Preakness the first race. I'm not a horse guy, but that's normally the Saturday. We do that, but something switched up with them. So participation was down a little bit with the kids. Daniel was there, and Mayor was there. Real nice. Daniel Dennis was there. very nice, and I'm sorry, Clara as well, and of course Kelly Bowie was there. Nice event, very nice event. You guys may know what this is. That ships, the Villiers ships, this week. So hopefully that means we get that wrestle out of the ground. Parks and Recs, I met with baseball, I met with softball, I met with a few other people. I'm just trying to go around and assess firsthand without any city staff what the concerns and needs are of the parks. Quite a few, most of it reasonable, and I'll get together with Mr. Mitchell and get a plan together, and I think the mayor's wanting to tour the parks as well. I'd like to do this on foot. Anybody wants to tag along? It's a lot of it, I'll tell you that.
Bring your walking shoes.
Yeah, bring your walking shoes. But other than that, this time, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor Pro Tem Foster, what do you have for us tonight?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Vigliotti, do you have anything for us?
I do indeed. I have the police departmental report for the month of May 2019. So in May, there were a total of 456 dispatched or generated calls for service that our department handled. There were 93 citations which were issued, 24 adult arrests, 1 juvenile arrest, and 63 warnings that were issued. In the awards promotions department, on May 13th, Lieutenant Costello and Corporal Schaefer attended an event hosted by the Criminal Justice Club of Carroll Community College, where Brian Schaefer was presented an award for outstanding public safety at the event. On May 22nd, Sergeant Kassler, Corporal Schultz, and Officer Williams attended the First Responder Appreciation Dinner held at Carroll Community College. In terms of community news, on May 18th, Corporal Schultz and Officer Marshall attended the annual fishing derby held at Roberts Mill Park. And of special note, the acting chief wanted to have the public reminded that when the police are dispatched for calls, they really don't always know what's going to end up coming up on the other end when they arrive. And he wanted me to use that as a kind of segue for the next portion of the report, which I'm sure probably some people have heard about by now. On May 16th, 2019, shortly after midnight, Taneytown officers were dispatched to a resident on Bison Street for a reported 911 hang-up. Officers arrived and were initially denied access into the home by one resident. While officers were speaking with that individual at the open front door, an adult female resident approached and threw a bag of hypodermic needles at a Taneytown officer, striking the officer in the face and causing minor abrasions. The individual that assaulted our officer retreated into the home, and officers followed, taking her into custody after a period of resistance by the suspect. During the course of the arrest, the suspect spit into the face of a Taneytown officer and a Maryland State Trooper assisting in the arrest. Officers inspected the bag of hypodermic syringes and found needles that were uncapped. While in custody, the adult female suspect in this case made statements that she was having thoughts of harming herself. Based on those statements, the suspect in this case was transported to the hospital for an emergency evaluation. An application for charges was filed with the district court against the suspect in this case. The following charges were issued on the arrest warrant: 3 counts of second-degree assault and resistant interference with an arrest. Our officer was treated at the hospital for possible exposure to infectious disease and appears well at this point. And that's the police departmental report for this month.
Thank you, Councilman. It really is a difficult career that they're in, and they never do know what they're getting into, but they always handle themselves well, and I think we're very fortunate to have our officers. I think we can all agree on that. Councilwoman Fuller, do you have anything for us this evening?
As far as Planning Commission, we welcomed Barry Gookus. It was nice to get back with the crew, and I think Barry's going to be a good fit. I think we didn't have a lot going on the agenda because it was our first one, but I think we were looking into allowing a daycare who's moving from out of town into town. One of the other things I was going to mention is before I left utilities, we had a discussion with the guys about, and I'm sure Daniel, you're going to hear about how they kind of are running out of space up there at the park.
Yep.
So one of the suggestions that I think we should look ahead towards is maybe for future budget, getting them a new facility, perhaps out at the new property that we have.
Mr. Smeek, if I may actually mention that he thought it'd be a good idea to maybe combine that facility with the community center or something.
Right,
So it's a
well-
multi-purpose municipal
Well,
building.
and the thing that we had talked about after the fact was the buildings that are already at the park, finding ways that the sports programs can utilize
Yeah.
those buildings as indoor facilities, so that we're not losing, prime space.
That's a
for
great
them
idea. Yeah,
Right.
to
absolutely.
use. So I just want to throw that out there for future. And then, what was the other one? With the $150,000 to $1,000 grant, I know, Jim, we had talked about maybe finding a way to use any monies that we saved because we didn't have to spend them to deal with the water issue at the park. So I was hoping maybe we could kind of bring that back up again sometime soon. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman. You know, I remember sitting in that seat thinking, how does Jim McCarron have so many things to report on? And now I understand how he has so many things to report on. Kind of start from the beginning. Taneytown Lions baseball filled Memorial Park with baseball games the past 2 weekends. Last weekend, there were 35 baseball games as part of the Slugfest tournament. This past weekend, there were 50 games, all kids playing baseball. It was a big fundraiser for Taneytown Lions baseball, and if you want to still come see some, at the end of the month, the last 2 weekends, the Lions baseball is hosting the Lions Pride Tournament. It's their own tournament, and I think we have 21 teams signed up for it over the last 2 weekends. So come by and see. The field's definitely got a lot of use, and we got a lot of great compliments on our park system, as well as the city in general. There are a lot of people who traveled as many as 4 hours to get here for this past weekend, and they were very pleased with the city and the park system. So kudos to all departments associated with that for helping make that such a big success. We had Relay for Life a couple weeks ago. It was a big success over at the football field at Memorial Park. Very nice turnout, and we had beautiful weather for it. So thank you to everyone on council who was able to make it out for that. Mayor Pro Tem Foster, Councilman Bigliotti, and Councilwoman Fuller and I attended the graduation of Francis Scott Key's class of 2019. A very exciting evening to see them go out and be able to start their new lives. It was 19 years ago that I did the same on that very same stage. Moving forward, this week, Mayor Pro Tem Foster and I are going to begin the first steps in searching for the permanent city manager. So look for more information on that later. This Thursday is the joint Carroll-Frederick County MML chapter dinner. I believe most of us will be attending that. That will be in Mount Airy. This Friday, we have the Taneytown Business Breakfast at the bowling alley. Sunday is Father's Day, so don't forget to call your father if able and tell him you love him and thank him. Then later this month, most of the council and myself will be at the MML Summer Conference in Ocean City. I believe Councilman Haynes is going, Hale's going, Foster. Big Loudie's in charge because he's the only one left that week. So. And then lastly, I saw that Sober Truth, a substance abuse organization in town, is holding a community block party at Memorial Park on Thursday, June 27th, and everyone is invited out for that as well. I believe that's all I have for the evening.
There's one other thing, Silver Oak Academy graduation is, I believe, what's the day? It's Thursday, I think.
The 20th, Thursday, June 20th
Okay.
is Silver Oak Academy graduation.
At 11 o'clock.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. I believe that's all I have. So if there's nothing more, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And may I have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, say nay. Thank you, council, for the evening.